Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and we actually have two viewer requests for this one. It is for the 2000 film Requiem for a Dream. Here is your trivia question for today. Tappy Tibbins always says to avoid what three things on his show? The answers will be at the end of this video. So our film starts off in Brooklyn, or to be more specific, in Coney Island. It's here that we meet our main characters, Harry, Harry's girlfriend Marion, Harry's mother Sarah, and Harry's best friend Tyrone. It's through these characters that we get to see the highs, the lows, and even the rock bottom of addiction. Some of them dealing with something as harsh as heroin or as unassuming as diet pills. We watch as Harry and Tyrone go from two friends just trying to sell anything they can to score drugs, to becoming very successful drug dealers, to being arrested. We get to see what lengths Marion is willing to go to and what people she allows into her life just so that she can get more drugs. We get to see the absolute downward spiral that Sarah goes through just in the hopes of losing a few pounds. We even get to watch as Harry and Marion go from absolutely loving each other to despising each other. So, will all or even just one of our main characters be able to break free of their addiction? Or is it absolute rock bottom for all of them? The director and co writer of this film is Darren Aronofsky. Also, he did manage to get a cameo into his film. I'm not exactly sure who he is in the scene, but he's apparently one of the party members at Big Tim's gathering. The movie is based off the novel of the same name, done by Hubert Selby Jr., who also manages to get a cameo in the film, as he shows up as one of the prison guards near the end of the movie. For the most part, the actors are pretty close in age to the characters in the book. Aronofsky originally wanted to see if he could get at least Tyrone, Harry, and Marion to actually be ages from 14 to 16 years old, as he felt it would work really well with the story, but the producers said no. Jared Leto does a great job as Harry in this film, but the role almost went to Giovanni Ribisi or Tobey Maguire. Jennifer Connelly as Marion also did a great job, but the role was almost given to Nev Campbell, who turned it down due to the nudity. Marlon Wayans, who played Tyrone and normally did comedies, did a great job in this movie, but the role was almost given to Dave Chappelle. Ellen Burstyn played Sarah, and in my opinion, did an Oscar worthy performance. She did such a good job, but the role was almost given to Faye Dunaway or Anne Bancroft. To prepare for the role of Harry, Jared Leto actually lost 25 pounds and befriended real heroin addicts. Jennifer Connelly, on the other hand, rented out an apartment that is the same apartment that supposedly her character lived in and isolated herself. She would, however, attend Narcotics Anonymous meetings and meet with actual addicts. To try and better understand what an overwhelming craving felt like, Darren Aronofsky asked both Jared Leto and Marlon Wayans to avoid sex and sugar for 30 days. Throughout the film, Ellen Burstyn actually had 4 different neck prosthetics, 2 different fat suits, one that was 40 pounds and one that was 20 pounds, and 9 different wigs. In the scene at the gathering, Jennifer Connelly would actually use a body double. In the very last scene of the film, you can see all 4 main characters turn to their right side and assume the fetal position. Aronofsky has stated that Tyrone is the only one of the 4 who might be capable of reclaiming his life. He tries to showcase this by having him getting the actual good moment of seeing his mother in his memories. Darren Aronofsky actually purchased the rights to do a live action version of the anime film Perfect Blue from 1997. But he didn't actually buy it to make the movie, he instead bought it so that he could do a shot for shot scene so that when Marion is in the bathtub, it's the exact same scene from the anime. Aronofsky also specifically shot the movie in short sequences, so it would get the sense of an overwhelming addiction and loss of control. An average film usually has 600 to 700 cuts. This one had 2,000. In the scene where Tyrone and Harry go to the grocery store to try and get some drugs, a lot of the actual extras in that scene were actual drug addicts. In the scene where Sarah's apartment is converting into the studio, there's a man walking through with a clipboard, and if you look carefully, you can see that the pi symbol is on that clipboard, which, of course, Pi is another film that Darren Aronofsky made. The Tappy Tibbins segments were all filmed in one day, and most of it was improvised by Christopher McDonald. Stanley B. Herman completely improvised the now famous line from this movie, ass to ass. So when it comes to the film Requiem for a Dream, I absolutely recommend that almost anyone should check this movie out. It's very interesting. It's got such good acting in the movie, but I will say it is a bit artsy. So I don't think everyone will enjoy it, but I think you should give it a try. So I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5. And if you do enjoy this movie, other ones I would recommend checking out are Train Spotting, Uncut Gems, Donnie Darko, and Memento. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, Tappy Tibbins always says to avoid what three things on his show? Number 1, no red meat. Number 2, no refined sugar. And number 3, there are actually 3 answers I'll accept for this. If your answer is there isn't an answer, you're sort of correct, as each time they get to number 2, it keeps getting cut off or something happens to where number 3 is not verbally revealed. Now, if you said no orgasms, you would also be correct, because even though it's not really mentioned, if you look at the whiteboard, you can see that number 3 is no orgasms. And finally, if your answer was no pharmaceuticals, you would also be correct on that, as originally Darren Aronofsky wanted to use that for the third one, but was pressured by the studio to not do so, as they were worried that some people would be convinced that taking their medicine would be bad. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there is a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.